Hi everyone, welcome back to Picking Out Loud. Today we're talking about something really important: depression. Now, I know depression is often described as just feeling sad, but let's be honest, it is so much more than that. If you've ever struggled with depression, you know it's not just an emotion. It's a physical condition that affects everything: your thoughts, your energy, and even the way your brain works. And today, we're going to break it all down. We'll talk about what's actually happening in the brain during depression, why it's not just a mental thing, and we're also going to be talking about what science says about healing from it. So, what does depression actually do to the brain? Scientists have found that three main areas are affected when you have depression: the prefrontal cortex, which is the part, as we previously mentioned, responsible for thinking, decision making, and problem solving. In people with depression, this area tends to be less active, which is why it can feel impossible to focus or make decisions when you're struggling. The hippocampus. This is your memory center. Depression can actually shrink the hippocampus over time, which explains why people with depression often have trouble remembering things or even feel disconnected from past experiences. And the amygdala, the brain's fear and emotional response center. In depression, the amygdala becomes overactive, making emotions feel more intense and overwhelming. The amygdala is also responsible for fear. So, this is usually why anxiety and depression go hand in hand. So, to sum it up, depression dims the prefrontal cortex, shrinks the hippocampus, and overactivates the amygdala. This leads to less motivation, trouble remembering things, and emotions that feel way too big to handle. And this isn't just happening in your mind, it's a real physical change in your brain. You've probably heard that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain. And while that is partially true, the full story is a little more complicated. Our brains use neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers, to communicate. The three big ones in depression are serotonin, which helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite; dopamine, which controls motivation, pleasure, and reward; norepinephrine, which helps with focus and alertness. When someone has depression, these chemicals aren't being produced, released, or received properly. That's why people with depression often feel numb, exhausted, and unmotivated. But here's something important. Depression isn't just about chemicals, it's also about brain structure, inflammation, and stress. Ever feel like when you're depressed, even the simplest things like getting out of bed or answering a text feel impossible? That's because of cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone, and in depression, the brain produces way too much of it. Chronic stress floods the brain with cortisol, and it damages the hippocampus. A smaller hippocampus makes it harder to regulate emotions, which leads to deeper depression. More depression means more stress, more cortisol, and the cycle continues. This is why long-term depression isn't just a phase, it physically changes the brain over time. But the good news, the brain is adaptive, it can heal. Here's something incredible. Your brain isn't stuck the way it is. Thanks to neuroplasticity, the brain can rewire itself, regrow connections, and recover from depression. Let's talk about some science-backed ways to help heal the brain. First of all, you have therapy, CBT and DBT, which helps train the prefrontal cortex to override negative thoughts and reframe thinking patterns. Then we have medication, such as antidepressants, which can help increase serotonin and norepinephrine levels. Thirdly, we have exercise, which increases dopamine and actually grows new neurons in the hippocampus. Fourth, we have mindfulness and meditation. This lowers amygdala activity and reduces stress hormones. Fifth, we have sleep and nutrition. Poor sleep increases cortisol. A balanced diet supports brain function. Now, I know when you're in the middle of depression, these things can feel impossible. But the truth is, even small steps like a 5-minute walk or just drinking water can start shifting your brain chemistry. I know firsthand how heavy depression can feel. It's not just being sad, it's feeling like your brain is working against you. Like, no matter how much you try, everything feels exhausting and pointless. And if you relate to that, I just want to say you're not broken. Your brain is going through something real, and just like any other part of your body, it can heal. You don't have to do everything at once, but if you can, take one small step. Whether it's talking to someone, moving your body, or just reminding yourself that you're not alone, that's already a victory. So, what did we learn? Depression physically changes the brain, shrinking the hippocampus, reducing activity in the prefrontal cortex, and overactivating the amygdala. It's more than just a chemical imbalance, it's a whole brain condition. The brain can heal through therapy, medication, exercise, and small daily habits. And most importantly, you're not alone in this. In the next episode, we're diving into anxiety and PTSD, how they rewire the brain, and how to take control. Don't miss it, subscribe, and I'll see you there.